Hey YouTube, welcome to Trevor's Vinyl World. Today I want to talk a little bit about actor Corey Haim and also actor Christopher Collet. And the reason I want to talk about both of them is they starred in two films together, and I genuinely wish there would have been a third one. And the reason for this, one of the reasons is Corey Haim passed away, unfortunately, back in 2010. He struggled with drug addiction, and he died at like the age of 38. Very sad. Christopher Collet is still alive and still a working actor, and I really think that Corey Haim was a legend in the 80s, and the two films that I want to talk about today have both actors in it, both Christopher Collet and Corey Haim. And, you know, when everyone talks about Corey Haim, they eventually bring up the other Corey because they were known as the two Coreys, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. And they did 9 movies together. That's a lot. And I would say that the first 3 or 4, you know, were successes. I mean, License to Drive, you know, they were a hit in the 80s. And then at some point, not that the wheels fell off, but Corey Haim's acting career went from big budget movies to these straight to video movies that you're basically just a paycheck actor, and the paycheck's probably not even that good. It was just enough to keep his drug addiction going. But anyways, these two movies I want to talk about, not only are they both really good, but they're both very underrated, and they both star both Christopher Collet and Corey Haim. And I really wish they would have teamed up for a third movie, because I really think it would have helped Corey Haim and maybe look at the long-term picture of like, hey, you know, and the reason I say that is that Christopher Collet was 3 years older than Corey Haim. And even though Corey Haim was more famous when they were child stars, when you're a young kid, you're very impressionable, and I think a lot of things were coming at Corey Haim back in the day. And if there would have been an actor who was just a little older than him that kind of, you know, takes him under his wing, shows him, you know, what you do, what you don't do, you know, maybe that would have helped. You know, this is just an idea I thought of. And one of the reasons I thought of the idea is because I really like the film that's called Firstborn. It came out in 1984, and it starred Corey Haim and Christopher Collet. And then it also had, and they play brothers. So Christopher Collet plays the older brother, Jake, and then Corey Haim is his younger brother, Brian. And their mom is Terry Garr. She is great in this. And then she makes the mistake, though, of bringing home Peter Weller's character named Sam. And it turns out Sam is a drug dealer, and it basically just causes havoc on the whole family. It's a very dramatic film, very well done. The acting is amazing. This was Corey Haim's first ever film, and I really think that, you know, this was a great starting point for him, and it's just a really good film. It just shows like how one like person that's got demons or is a bad person, how it affects like a whole family, because this Peter Weller guy is just bad news. And other interesting notes about this film is that Sarah Jessica Parker is in it, and she's really good. And also Robert Downey Jr. This was, like I said, 1984, so it's like super young Robert Downey Jr. I want to say a year after this, he did the movie Tough Turf, which is another one that I'm going to have to talk about sometime. But anyways, I really like this film. It was a really good starting point for Corey Haim, And, you know, Christopher Collet was 16 when this film was being made, whereas Corey Haim was 13. So this would have been a good film for the older Christopher Collet to sort of take Corey Haim under his wing. And then they did end up doing another movie together 6 years later called Prayer of the Rollerboys. So in this one, Christopher Collet would have been 22 years old and Corey Haim was 19. And this is like an independent sci-fi film that I really like. Most people have not seen this movie. You have to go into it with an open mind. It's about a futuristic America that's basically in bad shape, and I feel like I might sneeze, but maybe not. But anyways, this gang runs the city, and Corey Haim isn't part of the gang, but he's friends with the character that Christopher Collet plays, and Christopher Collet's character is the leader of this horrible gang. So the FBI wants Corey Haim to infiltrate this rollerblade gang, excuse me, in order to help bring them down. And then, yeah, it's kind of like he's going undercover, right? Well, the writer and director of this film, the writer was Peter Liff, and then the director was Rick King. Well, guess what film they basically teamed up and wrote and directed a year after this? Point Break. So they made this film, which didn't work out. I'm like one of the only people that watched Prayer of the Rollerboys. And then a year later, they came up with Point Break, and that one became a huge box office success and everything. But I really like this Prayer of the Rollerboys. It's got some pretty good action in it, some good one-liners. Corey Haim is like, you know, a young adult, but he's still kind of, you can still see that teenager in him. Like, he hasn't grown up too much. I wish there were a couple more movies like this, because most of the movies I like with him, he's either, you know, like 12, 13. This one, he's like a young adult, but it's not like a really bad movie. Some people online really criticize it. I think it's the way it's filmed is really cool. Like they do really good like scenes of where almost like a skateboarding movie would, where they are able to show how good these guys are on their rollerblades. And, you know, I remember in the 90s, there was a time period where, like, rollerblade hockey was a thing. And I know they're not playing hockey in this, but, you know, people have to remember that this was a different time period. And, no, rollerblading was a thing. So, but anyways, both of these films, I think, are highly underrated. And they both have Corey Haim and Christopher Collet in them. And I really wish that there would have been a third film after this, like let's say 3 years later. And I think the fact that Christopher Collet is such a good actor, I mean, he was in The Manhattan Project. He was in a slasher film called Sleepaway Camp. But he's done a whole bunch of TV shows. He's a guy that, you know, knows what he's doing. And I think at some point, Corey Haim and Corey Feldman, you know, they had a up and down rocky friendship, and they're both, you know, using drugs. And I think Corey Haim probably needed other actors like this Christopher Collet more involved in his life. And I'm obviously not blaming Christopher Collet. I mean, everyone has to be responsible for their own actions. This is just more of a what if. Because I was always such a huge fan of Corey Haim. And I'm probably going to do like another video where I rank his movies. Because, no, I've seen a lot of Corey Haim movies. And I just wanted to point this out. It's just kind of a what if. And I hope everyone is having a good one. And everyone, take care. Talk to you later.